who would like to talk to us for 15 minutes. It's a full package because we are physical education teachers. I would like to raise Mr. Sombwa Monsa. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I think we had lunch, It looks like we are tired of the bit of exercise that we had. Sorry to disturb your program. I know you are enjoying the activities that you are doing out there, but I was given time to be here at 2. So I was here at 2 to begin my presentation that will last for 15 minutes. Now, this is 15-1. This is 2-1. What's that? So anyway, that's fine. This happens sometimes, especially with us who are physical education and sports teachers. We are flexible. Where plan A does not work, we go for plan B, and sometimes we overshoot the time. But I'm happy and so excited to be here among the 70 plus, I'm told, that are attending this important event. I've been given a bit of detail in terms of what it's all about. But in a nutshell, what I would say, this is an event for physical education and sports teachers. I hope we don't have geography teachers here. History teachers, you're inventing our territory, Anyway, everyone is welcome, and my name is Sombwa Sunsa. I know the pronouncement was not done very well. It's sometimes a bit of a difficult name to pronounce, but I'm Sombwa Sunsa, CEO of the National Sports Council of Zambia. A few weeks old. I've been there for like 4 weeks now, but it's been an exciting journey. And during this brief journey that I've been at the Sports Council, I've met quite a number of stakeholders, individuals from the sports sector, from the physical education sector, but also attended a number of events in Lusaka, but also outside Lusaka. And this is yet another important event that I'm attending in my journey as a Sports Council CEO. I know the individuals that have come as far as the United States. Welcome to Zambia, Moiseni.
Thank you. Thank you.
Do you understand what Moiseni is? Mwabonwa. Simply means welcome to Zambia.
Thank you.
And even know that the first time as in Lusaka, this is the capital city of Zambia. Lusaka, I know some have come from the Copper Belt and so on and so forth. I've got my big brother, colleague and friend of all seasons, Mr. Stanley. Is bred here in Lusaka, and I'm glad to see you. But I see quite a number of familiar faces as well. Some I've not met in a long time, but others like Mr. Kapansa, who called me to be part of this important event. And I'd like to say welcome, and as Sports Council would like you to visit us. If you can't visit us, please get in touch with us in terms of what you can contribute to national development. Not what you can consume, It's not just about consuming, but give us suggestions in terms of how we can be able to improve sport development. I know it's a busy
You're free?
Yes, please. Thank you so much. I'm inappropriately dressed. Mr. Kapanza, you should have warned me. I thought teachers would be here, dressed in ties like me. So I said, let me go and just look like them. Only to find that people are in t-shirts and so on and so forth. But too late. But we go on. Even in physical education, there's no excuse for not practicing. Even in the trousers like this, even shoes like this, it's dangerous, but we can still practice. Right. So my presentation is simply on providing an overview, just a brief a presentation on the state of sport in Zambia. We're not going into details so that we do not move away from the main agenda of this workshop, but it's just trying to give you a little bit of information in terms of where we are with sport development. So in terms of the overview or the high points of this presentation, a little bit of talk around history of sport in Zambia. I know there are doctors here, and I'm sure they have that's what we say, history in terms of physical education and sport in Zambia. And I think I remain your student. Even when I'll be going through history of sport in Zambia, it will just be glossing over a few details. Also, we look at the sport structures in Zambia, and then also sport as a tool for development. We go on in terms of talking about the 7 pillars of national and international sport development. I'm sure some of you know. Then also a little bit of talk about school sport and the challenges we are facing, as well as interventions that we are trying to put in place. One as a government, but also as the country at large. Next slide, please. I wanted to go into details of what the National Sports Council of Zambia is, but I think we can leave that particular presentation for another day. It's a lot. If we sit down to go through a presentation regarding the National Sports Council Act of 1988, we will spend about 30 minutes here. But that's not the intention of my presentation. But you just need to know that the National Sports Council is part and parcel of the wider structure as an overarching sport organization in terms of sport development in Zambia. And we exist based on an act of parliament. And we have got 15 main functions, which obviously school sport also finds itself in terms of its place when it comes to the wider agenda of sport development. So in terms of the history of modern sport, I put modern there, mostly as is a proponent for the Olympic movement in Zambia. He's done quite a lot. And when you learn about the Olympic movement and the history of the Olympics, but also the history of sport, you begin to notice that sport actually didn't begin with the Olympics, isn't it? Even us Africans had our own sports. We have got a number of sport disciplines that we played, our forefathers played, but with the coming on of the European settlers to start with, we began to see new sports disciplines being introduced. The football, the netball, so on and so forth. But we had our own sports, the chiengas. Any other example of a traditional sport that we know? In solo. Pardon? Some chuchu, some ghetto. Waida is not, okay, I don't know if it's a traditional game because sometimes they call it double dutch, whatever it is. But kalambe and so on and so forth. So we had our own sports disciplines that were practicing. That's why I put the word modern sports in Zambia. So it was introduced by the settlers, especially on the copper belt, where there were mining activities in the 1900s. And then the main sport obviously was football, which was being played by the settlers by then, and there was a lot of segregation that the blacks or the Africans were not allowed to play or to take part in sport. But anyway, as time went by, the miners that were there, the Africans, also started playing different sports. First it was about it was just a social event, you know, social football, but they began to organize themselves in groups. And then these are children, and they are offsprings and so on and so forth. And the children now began to play the same sports that their parents or the guardians were playing. And there were clubs that were formed, and you will hear of odd clubs on the copper belt. That's where football started in Zambia. And then there was, sport became a significant sector, pre-independence, but also beyond independence. You know how our forefathers, especially Dr. Kaunda, was a promoter of football. He played football. And the popular sports by then were athletics, we have got the winter layers, and so on and so forth, that were big runners when it comes to athletics. Boxing, we had Keith Mwitwa, who won the first Zambian Olympic medal. Where? Historians, physical education teachers. Where did you win? 1980, that was 1988. That's a long time ago. That was the first bronze for Zambia in the Olympics. The next one was won by others are saying, but I can't hear. Muzara but he's winning, He's winning tonight. Matete won the next silver medal at the Olympics in Atlanta. So Zambia only has 2 medals, So physical education teachers have got work to do so that we can have more medals in the near future. Los Angeles, I don't know if anyone comes from Los Angeles there. we have the 2028 Olympics, and you'll see how Zambia will participate, especially with the physical education teachers that are being trained. I think each one of them can bring a medal or two. Yeah. So Zambia has participated in a number of events, you know, Olympic Games, Commonwealth Games, and so on and so forth. But there's one that we boycotted because of apartheid in South Africa. So there's a lot of history. I don't want to go into details, but we boycotted some Olympics which should have been in Canada. So the African Organization of African Unity by then decided not to participate in those games. And like I said, we have only won one silver medal by the legend Matete and Keith Mwitwa in boxing. We need a medal tonight, eh? Next.
400 meters.
400 meters, yes. So in terms of the structure, this is just the basic structure in terms of sport development in Zambia. So you have got the Ministry of Youth, Sport and Arts, which is the main body mandated to run sport or organize sport, get policies for sport in Zambia. But also it is the main body that looks for funding and provides funding to sport development. And let me quickly say, I think usually we say no, government is not funding sport, there's mega funding towards sport. But government itself remains the biggest single funder of sport development in Zambia. It's the biggest. Yes, we may owe one athlete and two here and there. We may not have enough facilities. We may not compete in enough competitions, but we still remain the biggest funder of sport development in Zambia. And when I'm talking about government, I'm talking about you and I, because you are paying tax and your money is being used towards sport development. So when you come, the next line is the National Sports Council of Zambia, which is a statutory body operating under the Act of Parliament of 1988. And there it is policy implementation and making sure that we regulate sport, especially with the affiliated National Sports Association. Then we work hand in hand with the National Olympic Committee of Zambia, who are the drivers of the Olympic movement in Zambia, but also facilitate the participation of our athletes like Muzala and the Keith Mwitwas, the Matetes, and the number of them in the Olympic Games, the Commonwealth Games, the Youth Olympic Games, and so on and so forth. And we also work, especially when it comes to sport for people with disabilities, we work with the National Paralympic Committee of Zambia. You can see that there's the National Sports Council of Zambia and National Olympic Committee are not at the same level, though we interact and collaborate in the number of areas, especially when it comes to policy implementation. But you see that the National Sports Council of Zambia is more of an overarching organization than the National Olympic Committee. Under both organizations, or three organizations there, we have got the national federations. Right now we have got 55 national sports federations, and we want to register more. At the end of August, we should register two. I know my colleague there, my brother and friend from the NGO sector and the education sector, is also bringing another sport. What's the name again? This sport.
Front ball.
Front ball. You will teach us how to play that one. It's front ball. I don't know if you just play from the front, no back.
It's more like tennis, but you're teaching.
Indeed. So we want more federations to be registered under the National Sports Council. And the National Federation is actually about athlete and coach development, basically. And then under the National Federation, we have got the clubs, academies, the sport NGOs, which we neglect mostly as Ministry of Education, but also the sports sector. But these, you see that they have done quite a lot, especially when talking about grassroots sport. If you sit down with the likes of EduSport, Sport in Action, and so on and so forth, you begin to hear how much impact they have had in terms of sport for development in the country. Then under the academies, the primary beneficiary of sport, the athletes. The reason why you and I are here. Without them, there will be no jobs for some of us. So that's how those athletes, even if they are placed at the bottom, they are more important than any one of us. Next slide. Now, we have a number of schools of thoughts in terms of what are the critical success factors for international or national sporting success. But I like this one. This is a colleague from the US. His name is Smolyanov. That's Russian, but he's American now. So the two of them, him and his colleague, created this model. which is divided in 3 layers or levels. So you have got the micro, you have got the meso, and then you have got the macro level. Now, there are 7 pillars there. There are others also who go all the way up to 9 pillars and so on and so forth. But the 7th one, just starting from the top, is advanced support of each participant. And in this case, we're talking about athletes primarily, but also those that take part in physical education. The next one is talent development. How are we doing talent development in the country? In most cases, and we should not be shy to talk about this, in most cases, talent identification and development in Zambia is not structured. In most cases, us who have been trained to be sports specialists do not follow the variables for talent identification. We are still using traditional means to identify talent. That's long gone. Our colleagues from the US and others are investing in sports science and technology. There's a lot of investment when it comes to sport medicine. They look at, there are projections in terms, when they look at a child and they are growing up and they're involved in sport, they are able to tell that this person by the age, by this age, their height should be here. Provided everything is given good nutrition and everything else is provided to them, they are able to project that this one will be this tall. And so they will be able to say that this one is good for volleyball, is good for basketball, is good for athletics, and so on and so forth. But we don't do that. What we do, and I'm not trying to embarrass us in front of our friends, but these are facts. They'll go and read. If you want, you can go and read Google. That's why there is technology these days. We can't hide information. What we do is, running, sorry to use the vernacular sometimes, that's athletics. But now their career is short-lived because they are not meant for athletics. Their limbs are not as long as they are supposed to be, like the Usain Bolt. Have you seen how Usain Bolt is? The limbs, in Tampula Panapa, compared to some of our athletes that we have, they are beaten. You can't get someone who's supposed to be, those who are good in volleyball, I think quite a number of them were studying, who is short to go and be a blocker. How do they go over a net? You can't get a short person to go and play basketball and they're ones who are supposed now to be dunking. They will not manage. Scientific methodologies in terms of talent identification are important. And we have the literature, we have the books. In terms of training centers, we are not doing well. We have got OIDC, it's one of them, the only one I think. This OIDC actually, when you look at when it started in 2010, when we opened the center, most I remember, it was the one of its kind in the world before the one in Haiti was developed. And this is the only one that we have of such nature in Zambia. The rest that we are seeing, the ones which are coming up, in private hands, Barcelona Academy is football. The Diego Casillas by Ispak mostly football. Mohan has opened another one in Kawe, Wakapansa, we visited that place. Mostly it's football. But when are we going to get facilities such as this one in different provinces? But I would like to tell you that there are actually plans by the government, and sometimes they take long, but there are actually plans to have provincial centers, like this one that we have here at OIDC. System competitions, the competitions sometimes are not well structured. Sometimes national federations, and I blame federations, you see, and I can say this because I'm coming from Sports Council, they wake up today, tomorrow we have got a competition, please fund us. And the funding is not at 20,000, it's 1 million. What? And you wake up from nowhere and you want to go for a competition. And some of these competitions that are going to, minor competitions that have no bearing on the athlete's performance, it will not take them anywhere. They will not use them as qualifiers for bigger events. So the competition structure in Zambia is not sound, and I think what we need to do is to improve in that area. But also now coming to us as physical education teachers, how are we running our competitions? This year we have, next year we don't. This year we have 5 sports disciplines, the following year we have got 2. So much inconsistency. I can't remember the last Zambia school sports, the ball games, where were they held? And when? Livingstone. Ball games only. What about the rackets and what about the chess? Pardon? Athletics was I remember. But it is not structured in a way that is inspiring, sorry to say, and also it doesn't inspire performance among the young people. When it comes to it, the other issue I was mentioning, the education, scientific, medical, philosophical, promotional support. Athletes must be supported with education. We can't continue having athletes who are very good but have no education. Our friends elsewhere combine the two. If you don't go to school, you don't get good grades, forget about participating in sports. That's how it is. So much, especially you coming from schools, if you see a child is not paying attention in class, but they are very good in football, in netball, stop them. Not because we want them to continue participating in sports so that we can win medals or trophies and show our head teachers that they work with, but we are doing an injustice to that kid. After that kid gets injured, we forget, we go for the next one so that they can also get injured. Huge injustice to the kids. So, combine sports and education. And we are not doing very well. The science I mentioned, the sport medicine, we have got a few doctors here who are specialized in sport, not so many. We need to reach a critical mass where we've heard of some of the athletes elsewhere are funded or supported by people with PhDs. We've got doctors here. They're the ones who move with the one athlete, the nutritionist with a master's degree in something. They are all there. You know, you have got a masseuse there with a very good qualification. They're the ones following one athlete. They will come up with now. And then as we are going to this competition, one doctor who's not specialized in sport, but they are just general practitioners, but they must sport. Let's go with them. A nutritionist, general, a practitioner, they have not done so much in terms of sport nutrition, and these are the ones that we are going with. That's a tragedy. Partnerships with supporting agencies, we have got partnerships. We have got this organization, and this is very good and well done. Kudos to the organizers, the Zambian ones, but also the American colleagues for coming together with PESTAZ, you know, and to host this. This is what we need. We cannot operate in silence. We cannot manage it if we are working alone as organizations or individuals. We have to collaborate in terms of sport development. And in this case, there's been also the partnership that we have are not structured. It's sometimes we wake up, let's call Zanaco so that they can fund our trip. Let's go up so that they can fund. We need to create long-term partnerships. And then lastly, balanced and integrated funding and structures of mass and elite sport. Funding is key. But sometimes we hide and say, let's not talk about funding first, let's talk about these other things. But funding is key. It is one of the main pillars of sport development. We can't do away with funding. But I would like to let you know that with this government, like I said, is the biggest funder. If you look at the budget for this year, compared to 2023, jumped from 125 million, to 161 million. There's political will there, right? Compared to the meager ones, even for the last 3 years, if you look at the last 3 years, focus on the last 3 years, and how much the budget, national budget for sport has jumped from where it was, where even footballers and women used to get 50 kwacha after our winner competition, 50 kwacha. But look at what we're getting. The bonuses, we have got this parity in terms of pay. The girls and the boys, the males and the females, in terms of bonuses and so on and so forth. Next one. So what are some of the challenges? There are so many, but these are the key ones that I picked. We have got inadequate funding, which is true. Sometimes the funding, the biggest chunk goes to football. Football gets the lion's share. And the others are getting less resources. But we are saying, we know that football always gets the biggest chunk, isn't it? Even in school, the football team in school get bigger, more resources than the others. But what we are saying is that we may not have equality in terms of resources, but what we are seeking is equity in funding. There's a difference there. So that when we fund everyone, whether football is getting 20 million, tennis is getting 10 million, everyone goes home happy. That's what we are talking about. We have poor partnerships, like I said. We need to make sure that we strengthen partnerships that we already have. After this workshop, please, colleagues, let's not forget about our colleagues that are coming. Until 10 years from now, and then we start saying, we need another workshop. Let's continue building up. Peradventure, who knows? one or two of us who go for further studies or further workshops in the US. It's possible, right?
It is.
I don't know who, but who knows? Then we have got inadequacies in school sport and PE. I think we all know them. Funding is one of them. The teaching itself, the methodology, colleagues, sometimes we don't pay so much attention. I remember one university, I don't want to mention it, went to help a friend to assess physical education students. Now these are teachers who are working. They are at this university trying to get a degree. Now you can imagine practical sessions for which you need to evaluate. Clive, I didn't see you. Yeah. So you have got practical sessions, where you are supposed to go basketball, those who play basketball. Where to shoot, my point, what you got, 2 points? 3 points, whatever. This student doesn't know where to stand. He's asking the assessor now, but where should I stand? Volleyball, where you are supposed to do the, what you call it? He doesn't know where to stand. Going now for long jump, hey, disaster, I don't want to go further. But this is what we're talking about. We need to embrace quality physical education, and I'm happy, but at the same time sad, that we had a very good project, and some of them, I'm sure I can answer. Bastari was there, Clive, I'm not sure whether you were there. We undertook a project as Zambia, a pilot project which was supported by UNESCO. South Africa was one of them, and some other islands, to do quality physical education. And the proposal was done, the report was done by Dr. Chipande, who is at the African Neuro Sports Council. Where is that document? Ministry of Education, Ministry of Sport were involved in that collaboration. Where is that very good document? Gathering dust somewhere in someone's office. And then we'll go back to UNESCO 5 years from now and say, oh, another project on quality physical education. Come on, colleagues. We can't continue with this kind of work. Lack of comprehensive national high performance strategy. We don't have a national high performance strategy. We don't. A few federations have here and there, like Zambia Athletics has got a funnel system developed by a colleague, Ralph Machban from Germany. They have this high performance. That's why sometimes you see consistency in results. But then others in just dreaming, let's run with this restaurant. There's no high performance strategy. But Sports Council is in the process of developing a national high performance strategy, which will be generic to all the sports disciplines. Poor national federation structures and lack of high performance systems. Hey, the national federations, I don't know who's representing a national federation here, but the structures in some national federations, it's really bad. That's why I think, because they don't have these good structures, there's a lot of fighting. Even small sports, you wonder why are they fighting over a small sport? Poorly qualified human resource, I will not talk about it. I already spoke at our physical education colleagues that were assessing, but also in sport, even certain overarching organizations, we find the human resource that is there is not qualified for the job. They could be qualified in let's say in agriculture, they could be qualified in arts, they could be qualified in as economists, but they are not qualified as sport development officers. Should we continue entertaining such? I cannot work at the Ministry of Agriculture because I'm not qualified. I cannot work as an economist because I'm not qualified. But how come it is easy for someone else who is qualified in another discipline or in another with another qualification to come and work in sport? What do you expect at the end of the day? Mediocrity. That's what happens. The other issue is disinvestment in sports science and sport medicine. I spoke about that. We are not doing enough in terms of really focusing on sport medicine. Our friends, I would have loved to show you a video of how swimmers train. And this is a simple structure. They've created this pool and their waves, and this swimmer has to swim against that wave to strengthen their whatever you call it, biceps and so on and so forth. You can't do without that kind of technology, colleagues. Even for javelin, I saw. So it's not just running and throwing. They have got this indoor, and they don't have to go outside. You can adjust the weights. So this person is repeating doing repetitions and trying to throw this thing indoors. So many things. But some of these things can also be done in Zambia. Inadequate facilities, I think I spoke about that. Inadequate strategies for resource mobilization and sponsorship. We don't have strategies. We wake up today, we are going to Trade Kings. Everyone, every sport organization is lining up at Trade Kings. It's not possible for Trade Kings to fund all sports disciplines. We need strategies, long-term strategies. We are selling, we have got a product which is sport and physical education. We are promising you as Trade Kings, not visibility. Come on, that is the old way of promising an organization like Trade Kings. They already have visibility. How much do we see on TV every day? You can't match that visibility that they have. But what are you promising? Changing the lives of the young people. Are you going to promise product sales? Possibly not, because Trade Kings has got its own marketing strategy. One event that you're going to have in Dola may not sell Maboom soaps that they are selling. So please, let's focus also on resource mobilization and sponsorship. Inadequate commitment of stakeholders, like I gave an example of the quality physical education. Everyone, we were in the other side. There was the other side. There was this one. Where did we do the physical? I mean, there was another one on the other side, which has been tending to start in the gym. Start in the gym, if I'm not mistaken. But also here. We sat there, everyone were raising hands and excited and so on and so forth. Workshop done, resolutions done, everyone went back home and we forgot, and the commitments were forgotten. The resolutions are still there. Next slide, please. As I am about to conclude, interventions. These are recommendations. Even as we identify challenges, we shouldn't sit back and say, if you're a challenge, this is for government, this is for my head teacher, this is for the other teacher, and so on and so forth. We must also come up with interventions. There's no way we can accept someone to load us and burden us with so many challenges, and yet you can't even suggest some recommendations. Maximize resource mobilization, especially for government. We need to make sure that we lobby more resources from Treasury. Olympic solidarity, mostly are coming from the Olympic movement. Olympic solidarity, they will tell you more about Olympic solidarity, but this is money that comes from the broadcasting rights of the Olympic Games. Like now in Paris, there is money which is being accumulated that will be channeled to different countries. But you have to apply for that money. But what happens? There's a number of programs. I'm not sure in this quadrant, there's a 4-year plan, how much money is there, or how many programs. But you've got a number of programs, from Sport for All to support to athletes and so on and so forth. But how much of that Olympic solidarity funding are we actually applying for? In the past, it has been meager. Whilst our friends elsewhere are applying for nearly all the programs. Long-term plans and budgets, that's what we need to focus. Tomorrow, you want to go to Zimbabwe for a competition and you come to Sports Council to request for funding. Going in the future, we just say no. Sorry, we cannot fund you. Long-term programs, sometimes you see national federations can't even give you, even as you go to 31st December, no calendar for the following day, for the following year. Identify the right athletes, please, colleagues, even as you are doing, because physical education is the base, is the foundation for physical literacy, but also it is the foundation for future champions. We're starting, if you identify a wrong athlete, we start identify the right athletes. Like I said, look at the variables, the scientific variables. There are so many. Clive will tell you, I think he's even more knowledgeable in terms of the scientific variables that you look at in an athlete, in a young person. From issues to do with the size of the palm. Volleyball, when they spike, no one will be able to defend it. The foot itself. So many variables that we need to, but I think they are there most studies, I think even our local physical education books, isn't it? Yeah. Increased participation of athletes in major preparatory events and qualifiers, preparatory events, colleagues. Not only say, no, we want to travel, but we have never even had a national tournament. What do our federations about? They are crying to go to African Games. In the last African Games that we had in Ghana, this particular federation doesn't even have a national league. But what are you going to do there? Look at Sevan. No, it shouldn't be like that, these colleagues. Engage qualified human resource, apatente tulani sana. less engaged qualified human resource, competent and passionate human resource. Performance monitoring system for athletes and coaches is important. Football, will say, we rise up, fire Bruce Martin, fire this old man, fire this one. But when it comes to other federations, see, but as their coach is not performing, why aren't we also pointing at that coach? We are just to one coach, you know. But football, everyone is talking, you know. We all become coaches, eh? Yeah. Teaching and practice of QPE, we talked about. We need to really enhance the teaching and practice of QPE. I know there are challenges. Some schools don't do physical education. Some schools do. Others, my head teachers are not willing to support. I don't know why. You know. Others have even buried swimming pools. I remember in Kabwe Secondary School, we had a swimming pool, very nice, at Kabwe High School there, and but we were using the swimming pool just to play mini football. It's buried now. Oh, it's a fish pond. It's a fish pond now. Anyway, CDF is working. Invest in school sport. I think there we need our head teachers. If there's any head teacher here, please, we are begging, literally on our knees. Focus on sport, please invest in sport. It's not expensive sometimes. What we're talking about is grassroots sport. How much will it cost us to send athletes, 5 athletes, to go and compete in Zimbabwe this August, to camp in Livingstone for some time and they go? How much will it cost us? I know there are challenges with funding, but I think we, like I said, partnerships, sponsorship, and so on and so forth. Next slide, as I'm about to conclude. The intervention is also classed and prioritized sport disciplines. We cannot focus on all the 55 disciplines. It's impossible. Even the US itself has got its focused sports disciplines, right? For the Olympics, to say, for these 4 years, we are going to focus on these sports disciplines. We cannot manage all of them. It's not possible. Focus on women's sports, colleagues. How many women are also here? How many here? Do we have a gender parity here in terms of participation? Do we have more women? But it looks good, not bad, but it looks better than in most places I've gone to, where you find 5 women out of 30 men. But it's a sad situation, countrywide, but also at regional level. When I was working for the African Union Sports Council, Region 5 in Botswana, we did a research on to see how many women or girls were participating in sport. Guess the percentage of women at regional level. We sampled some few sports disciplines, but all in a number of countries out of the 10, region 5. Guess the result in terms of participation of women. Who can guess? 5? Anyone? 15? Anyone? Pardon? 55? 50? Hey, but it's 1%. That's research. 1% of women participating in sport, different levels. So I'm talking about different levels. Administration, coaches, whether it's sports science, whatever, but also in terms of participating in as the athletes and so on and so forth. 1%. How many federations have women administrators? Volleyball, netball, deaf sport. I think water sport, if I'm not mistaken, out of 55. How many coaches, even netball itself, how many coaches do we have who are women? At the moment, the national team coach is a man, the one who's the under 20 coach is a man. Sad situation. So focus on women, and actually you may even win more medals. I look at our friends in boxing, they say, I think there's a open in boxing. Nigeria sent their best boxers in the female one, and they are winning medals. And other countries are also focusing on women's sport because there you can win medals. We are not saying it's an easy road, I don't want to demean women, but at least if you focus on women, women work extra hard compared to us men. Men don't even want to clap, Establish permanent medical support systems. Like I said, today I've got this doctor, tomorrow I've got another one, so on and so forth. Have a team. And for Sports Council, what we want to create in the near future is the first ever National Sports and Exercise Science Center in the country.
All right.
That's a dream, and it will come to fruition. Establish a games